Have you ever been walking down the street on just another typical day and had something or someone capture your attention? Capture it in the kind of way that makes you smile without even knowing why.
Well, my name's Alicia Renee. They call me Blue Eyes because I was born with blue eyes. I'm originally from Flint, Michigan, but jazz is what brought me down here because it's the original birthplace of jazz, Congo Square. I love being here. I mean, it's a great city. It's very magical.
That New Orleans is the birthplace of jazz is no surprise to anybody who's been here. The city feels like the music. It's energetic and catchy, loose about the rules, and collectively improvised. The way that people here talk and interact with each other, even with strangers, feels like one big jam session. From the professional musicians like Alicia, to the vendors in the historic French market like Carol Lewis.
New Orleans is built upon its diversity, We're very French influenced, We like Little Haiti, Little Africa, Little all of that all rolled in one.
To the downtown pedicab drivers like Isaac Hall.
It's the freedom to express yourself.
New Orleans attracts around 20 million visitors a year for its mixture of music, food, people, history, and of course, parties. But for all the attention that the tourism industry brings to downtown, there's still many local New Orleanians who get lost in the shuffle.
So one thing that is uncomfortable for me is that to get used to seeing homeless people every day. Every weekend there's a festival, so I see the money is here.
All of the traditional ways and all of the warmth and closeness that old traditions and cultures bring is kind of flying out the door, People are just so disconnected.
Like coming up, I was in an Earth Keepers program, so I actually looked forward to going to school every day, getting a new badge and trying out different things. And now there are not really any programs at all, nothing for kids to look forward to anymore.
For Carol, Alicia, and Isaac, the issue that they wish New Orleans would address is how to take all of the wealth that they see being generated on Bourbon Street every day and get it out to all the people, especially the young people that the city has forgotten. And the issue is real. New Orleans ranks close to the bottom of the country in terms of upward social mobility. In other words, of kids today having a better standard of living than their parents. So, as we're on a nationwide journey to find tangible hope, we thought we'd look for some local nonprofits that, as Isaac put it, are giving kids something to look forward to.
That first year, we worked with 45 kids who all successfully trained up to be able to do the biggest kind of premier 10K in New Orleans called the Crescent City Classic. We sat down with the people at the Crescent City Classic and said, hey, these are all kids who go to public school, most of them from lower income backgrounds in and around New Orleans. Can they run your race for free? And they said yes, and they've continued to say yes.
I literally sat at my dining room table with mentors and people from the community, and I had butcher paper all over my house, and we would just post it, and it came to life. We had over 100 youth from 5 different cities that came to think about their education and really connect them to youth from other urban cities and them to develop those relationships.
The first thing that we did for Uncommon, officially, was go into a willing classroom with a couple hammers and a hunk of wood and some nails of different sizes. We weren't testing whether or not kids would have fun hammering stuff, but we were trying to understand what are kids looking for, right? What are they excited about?
If you've always thought about New Orleans as just a place of music and food and laissez-faire, you might be missing out on how this outgoing and welcoming culture is also being used to empower young people to become the next generation of leaders. Take Uncommon Construction. They use the process of building a home from the ground up to teach young people construction skills, connect them to employers, and most importantly, establish a belief in their own abilities on a professional job site.
Uncommon Construction is a nonprofit here in New Orleans. We host an apprenticeship program for high school students. I started it with some really awesome people, Hunter being one of them.
I wanted to just come out and try it because I had no idea what I was going to do after I graduated. I didn't know what I wanted to do really.
So we started with this question of, what if our students have a greater sense of ownership and not only feel comfortable there and it's okay to make mistakes and try new things and work with kids who are different from them, or they join a diverse team of their peers, where they get paid by the hour as W-2 employees, they earn bonuses and promotions, they also earn internship credit at school for building a house in a semester. But more importantly, we match our apprentices' earnings with what we call an Equity Awards scholarship. So Hunter, for example, by the time he graduated from high school after building 6 houses with us, he had a little over $1,200 or something like that saved up in his Equity Award account, which he used to pay his union dues at the electrical union.
Well, actually, I even thought it was going to be volunteer. I didn't even know we were going to be paid at the time. And I remember my first day, I remember feeling like nervous and kind of weird just being out there and like thinking about like what we about to do right here now. And that was when we first learned how to build walls and put them together and stuff.
In a city that's become infamous for its abandoned spaces, Uncommon Construction takes derelict properties and turns them into learning opportunities.
So the way that this house is going to get built is every Saturday over the course of a semester. Those kids who applied for that team are going to come out here and they're going to be positioned as leaders of one another and adult volunteers. So on our kids' first day here on the build site, they're going to build and stand all the walls to the house. Next week, we're going to add a roof to it. And the following week, we're going to add siding to it. And the following week, we're going to add paint to that. As a result, our kids are leaving with a real sense of accomplishment.
If Uncommon Construction starts with learning a physical trade to teach life skills, Lakedra Robertson's Milne Inspiration Center, or Mike Amped, approaches it from the other direction. They start with learning life skills and then applying those skills to becoming generational leaders and creating wealth for themselves, their families, and their community.
Our umbrella organization is Mike Amped, and under that we have our Youth Leadership Summit, where we engage youth in programs over the course of 3 days and 2 nights to help them with education and immerse them into our 5 pathways of engagement. We have Teas and Ties, where we help our youth understand professionalism, etiquette, and socialization. And then we also have our Legacy Strong program, which helps with understanding upcycle tire furniture, t-shirt making through entrepreneurship.
Above all, Mike Amped exists to amplify the voices of young New Orleanians and expose them to inspiring people, places, and possibilities.
One of the key things that we truly love with offering youth leadership opportunities is in our summer camp, the local radio talk show gives us an opportunity to do a youth takeover, and every summer the youth has their own segment on the radio station and they get to talk to the mayor directly through the radio. I feel like youth can't dream if they've not been exposed to things outside of the wheelhouse of where they live, which is why bringing in speakers, taking them to other cities, taking them to other states and other countries, because you can only hope to be what you see. So if you've never seen, an archaeologist or an architect or a doctor or a lawyer, how can you hope to be those things?
Building meaningful connections is also at the heart of youth-run NOLA. In 2010, Denali Lander and some fellow teachers started the organization with the simple idea of getting students, teachers, running together. They train for local 5K, 10K races, even a half marathon, but more importantly, they use running to teach students skills like how to form relationships with someone from a different background than yourself, or how to develop healthy lifestyle habits.
During the week, we have 30 school partnerships, so that means 30 little running teams happening all over the city that are led with teachers as head coaches. They know how to have a kid-first mindset, and they know how to love young people, and they know how to identify young people that maybe have been turned off by athletics because they're too competitive.
At first, I was really intimidated because I've never ran a mile in my life. And then I went on that Saturday morning at City Park, and it was such an amazing experience. I met new friends. Everyone was so welcoming, the staff, the volunteers, the coaches. And before you knew it, I ran 3.1 miles. And I was just like, wow, that was amazing.
To create real change for students here, the organizations had to figure out how to help students succeed in communities that have long suffered from a lack of job opportunities, segregation, and poverty. The image of New Orleans as a city of forgotten people was never more painfully illustrated than in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina left 80% of the city flooded for weeks, claimed over 1,800 lives, and stranded thousands more. Many young people like Hunter and Jessica were unable to return to their homes or neighborhoods for months or even years. And sometimes when they did, their communities struggled to recover, reflecting a world where there's no one to help you, and change can feel impossible. So where do you start to create real change for young people in New Orleans? Well, for Mike Amt, Uncommon Construction, and Youth Run NOLA, it starts with giving young people the support they need to accomplish something that goes beyond what they, or maybe even those around them, ever thought they could do.
So we talk a lot about the skills gap and the achievement gap in education and workforce development, but what doesn't get as much airtime is what we refer to as the belief gap. And this is the gap between what young people are capable of and what others believe they can achieve. And then that belief is then internalized by our young people. So much of what happens in those Saturdays at Uncommon is knocking the belief gap right off the job site, leaving it at the curb and coming up on here and doing something that's really, really awesome and doing it in a way where you are in charge.
If you don't value yourself, you can't value your family or anything else that you do. So self-worth is one of the main things that we definitely deal with, and making sure that they feel valued, heard, seen, loved. And that's the process every time you come into the door.
Part of how Lakedra, Aaron, and Denali inspire confidence in their students is by giving them positions of real leadership in the organizations. And the results are remarkable.
In other programs, you'll have an adult that says, okay, youth, I want you to run this, or I want you to do this. And then it's like, I don't know, I have like a lack of motivation. But when you have that one-on-one connection with a teacher and a student, and y'all are running the same pace, the same amount of miles, they're like, okay, I can do this. Now it's like, I'm a leader. I can go back into my community and train another student how to run 13.1 miles or, a 10K or a 5K. And also mentoring them is a huge thing for me.
I had the opportunity to even be a crew leader for them. And I had about like 5 or 6 kids working under me at the time. And I was able to learn how to hold a group together without acting like I'm above them, because I always felt like I was on the same level as them. So like when they didn't know how to do something, I wanted to show them how to do it, or I wanted to do it for them to try to get them in a place to where they could keep going and figure it out themselves. What people don't tell you is that even though I felt like I was working with kids at that point, it still feels the same when I'm working right now with 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. Like, they don't change. It really helps me like deal with these people in the workplace and be able to work with them.
The impact of these programs, of course, goes way beyond just the students that they're engaging with. It's the new houses in the neighborhood. It's the local industries that benefit from having young people with desirable skills. And especially, it's the new friendships, families, and communities that are brought together from all across the city.
Right now we have 6 regional parks where on Saturday mornings kids are invited. And what we've done is we've opened those to be like community practices where we ask kids like, invite your family. This is where we've seen a lot of the family members even step up and start training for a half marathon alongside their children.
We do a family day. At my home, I host a barbecue, or we'll go to a park and we invite the parents, and we often get them to come because they have to cook a dish. So we tell them to bring a dish, bring your mama and your food to the program. And so we get them to come, and the parents and kids are crawling all over the furniture, but they see that we are a family environment and they want to be a part of that.
Our kids who come into our program, because we work with different schools that are diverse by design, that our kids are diverse by age, gender, sexual orientation, academic proficiency, career ambition, you name it.
You can totally run with someone. It could be different religion, race, age, and still feel like family. If you're a part of a running group, it's like, it's family.
People here choose one another and choose connection over isolation or over divide. Is something that I've never felt to such an extent elsewhere.
To me, jazz is the perfect metaphor to describe what's special about these organizations. Jazz was born out of taking familiar tunes and shaking them loose, adding swing and syncopation, making space for musicians to solo and riff in a spontaneous way. Uncommon Construction, Mike Amped, and Youth Run NOLA to me are like jazz ensembles that take a familiar tune and put a new spin on it. They start with a melody that everybody knows, like a running club, a church youth group, or Habitat for Humanity, but then they give it an unmistakable local look and feel. They build in space for soloists to step out in front of the band. Those are the leadership opportunities they offer, while mentors, coaches, and volunteers back them up and hold down the beat. And just like learning to play jazz well, training for a race, building a home, or finding your voice takes time. If you've ever tried to learn a new skill, like carpentry, or develop a new habit, like regular exercise, you know how hard it can be to establish lasting change, but how meaningful it can be when you do. I think programs like Mike Amped, Youth Run NOLA, and Uncommon Construction can do for the civic life of New Orleans what jazz did for music. They can help the city break free from some of its long-standing issues of neglect and inequality by using what the community already has and connecting with young people in a way that makes them feel seen and valued. Well, that's my long-winded take on it anyway. So I thought I'd ask Carol Lewis, the vendor from the French Market, what she thought was the way to connect with young people in New Orleans.
Only one thing reaches them. Somehow they just know. On a Mardi Gras Day or St. Joseph Day, when the wild Indian tribes are marching, or they play that second line in that brass band, it just like a light goes off. They know. They know. If they don't know anything else, if they join the youth from all over the world and all the craziness and disconnecting and all of this stuff, that's the one thing they know. And that's what still keeps us alive.
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in.
When I say youth, you say run. Youth, run. Youth, run. When I say no, you say la. No, la, no, la. When I say youth, you say run. Youth, run. Youth, run. When I say no, you say la. No, la, no, la. Youth run NOLA on 3. 1, 2, 3. Youth run NOLA.